None of y'all are my support network. I got my car stolen out of a parking lot. I hadn't talked to a good friend in probably 2 years. I called her and said, "Hey, my car got stolen. The nebulizer was in there for Matthew. Do you have an extra?" She and I used to carpool together. Our sons, we've been friends. We're still friends. She passed. She said, "Absolutely. I got an extra one. Come by and get it." When you are under stress, if you know when it's coming, build your support network. And I'm not talking about people that will enable you. I'm talking about find people that all of you can lift yourselves up together. We all did it.
Mental health champions, another unique and powerful journey heading your way. Shelly's journey began as the lifelong caregiver for her mother, the first woman diagnosed with Crohn's disease in the U.S. in 1956. There was a lot of experiences that came her way, and we're going to dive into that. How to transition from being an unparented teenager to empowering caregivers. Why do families rely on hope over building support systems? What drove her to help others secure dignity after witnessing chronic illness and more? And Shelly, thank you for taking time to join us here on A Mental Health Break.
I'm really glad to join you. I appreciate everything you're doing, Vincent.
Well, thank you. Where are you streaming in from today?
Amarillo, Texas. If anybody's driven through here, they see that big Texans on I-40, and that's where they try to stop and eat.
Hey.
Somewhere between New Orleans and Denver.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for stopping by across the country. Welcome back, everyone, tuning in to another show here on A Mental Health Break, the #1 podcast to help you remember that you are never alone. We're brought to you today by ComingAlivePodcastProduction.com. Shelly, from caregiving chaos to financial clarity, please share your mental health journey from wherever you feel comfortable.
Sure. The question I got from my brother as recent as 3 or 4 months before he passed away was, how did you know you needed to get help? How did you know you needed help? I looked around at everybody else and saw where chaos was coming from in their life, and it wasn't coming from the same place as it was in mine. And mine all just kept leading back to my family. And most of the things that were chaotic stemmed around my mother. And then they stemmed around her illness. And then they stemmed around our not being able to do anything about her circumstances. And so as I entered into parenting my own children, I was a single parent with both of them. So I was 25. She had gone into the hospital for 6 months. First 3 months were an infection. And the second 3 months, she broke her hip, certainly changed a tremendous amount of what we were able to do for her after that. And she was only 58 years old. That is when I really sought sincere, complete therapy, recognizing that I had to do something to break these cycles, perpetual cycles that just go on with codependency, really. At the end of the day, that's what it really is when you're taking care of somebody, because you're their savior while they're sick, and then they get well, and then they want to persecute you because you didn't do it right. You're halo. But I had not realized how much of an identity I had wrapped up in being my mother's caregiver and how much it spilled over into the rest of my life.
Yeah, thank you for all you did. My mother and sister played a similar role for my mom's mother. I know there's a lot of challenges with hers. It was dementia, so
They don't even understand. At least I can say my mom had, and now not that it's always great you can have somebody that can make an argument, but at least I didn't have to explain what I was arguing about, hairbrush, have to deal with whatever hand you're dealt, and you may or may not be capable. And I think that's wherein lies the rub, right? Some people just can't do it. So that's where question mark comes in for that kind of thing.
Thank you for sharing that. How was your mental health affected by this overwhelming situation? If you can share some things you were going through and how you came out of it to be this incredible success.
My mother was a horrible maternal. She was 18 when she got this disease. She didn't have the most maternal mother either. We lived in, Amarillo, Texas, where we had a dust bowl and a drought and depression all at the same time. It wasn't like everybody was coddling everybody up here. Everybody was just like, hey, get out there and make it work. My mother is a smart, way ahead of her time. When I was about 6, she started putting me in commercials. She wrote, and my sister too, as long as my sister. She entered me in a pageant when I was 5, Little Miss Oklahoma. I won that. I was 5. And then she later on introduced me to, and it's in my book, Maxwell Maltz. He introduced cybernetics back in the 70s. She got me a little kit that he had produced, and it was building confidence. It was a confidence building kit. So she had me sit in front of that thing. She gave it to me for Christmas, and then she gave me the tape recorder from Santa Claus. I was pretty sure I knew then there was no Santa Claus. He was not communicating with my mother. When I was 12, she had moved, well, what turned out to be a temporary move, but she had moved to California. She was helping write the screenplay for The Getaway with Steve McQueen and Ally McGraw. She pulled me out there thinking I would go live out there with her, and I was there for all of about a week, and she realized that was a little too fast for her and way too fast for me. San Diego. La Jolla,
Yeah.
great, but still too fast. California and Amarillo, Texas were just at different speeds in the 80s. She sent me packing pretty quick. And she had books show up at my dad's house about a week later. I'm okay, you're okay, and games people play. And that was my summer reading from 6th to 7th grade. So I knew games, boy, I could spot them a mile away. I mean, and there were games being played around me. I refer to my dad's wife as my stepmonster 137 times in that book. So, there was a lot of challenges that I didn't have any control over, and she knew it. She didn't know if she was to pass away, what would happen. I didn't have anywhere to go. That was what she was trying to prepare me for, is not so much life on the outside. It was the life I was going to have on the inside. Not just inside of me, but inside my four walls.
Right. That's an important lesson. Control what you can control, and the rest will fall.
Make the best out of what you can. I
Yes.
mean, at some point, it becomes an attitude. I think some people are better at adjusting. My sister was not good at adjusting that. She went to live with my grandmother. She'll admit she's not good at it today. Her husband took care of her mother-in-law, and as much as she loved Nita, it's not about love sometimes. It's about a skill set, the ability to look past the act and selflessly do it. I don't blame people. It's a gift I wish I didn't have. Really? Come on, you need help. Why are you in my path? And I know why. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that. And as you were going through all of this adversity, what were some things you did to take care of your mental health or help improve the way you felt, especially at a young age, a significant amount of adversity?
Well, in my younger years, as a small child, I was a happy kid. I babysat starting at about 9 or 10. It was some kids across the street. And so my mom would try to cross the street if anything happened, but they didn't realize how sick she was. I started working at a young age to contribute. That saved me from feeling like I wasn't doing anything. As much as I shouldn't have been given that kind of responsibility, I took it. And with that, it allowed me to not feel so worthless. Because there's only so much a little girl can do. As a teenager, I discovered marijuana, and that helped a lot. But as soon as I left Amarillo, I never did it again. It was so wild. And so, really, even when I actually did tell a mental health professional here, we only had one, and he was good friends with my mother, and I went to school with his kids. But when I told him, she was concerned. She took me to see him. I told him, and he was like, brought me back out to my mom and said, she's fine. I mean, he really understood. My sister had seen him as well. She had seen him for substance abuse, and he knew my situation had nothing to really do with that. I was taken off the edge. I was going to school. I was working. I wasn't trying to do anything more. It really was a way of coping.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, as an adult, what are some things you do to take care of your mental health? What works for some doesn't work for everyone, but I'd like to give you a few more tools.
So, what I was lucky about when I packed up, let me tell you about the hit real quick. Just because you aren't trying to do anything more than marijuana doesn't mean the people that you're around aren't doing more than you are. Okay? Word to the wise. Watch who you're hanging out with. I was an unparented teenager, so let's quickly tap on that. My mother left Amarillo and went to live in Oklahoma City to take care of another medical problem. I was living in my own apartment. I had been legally emancipated at 13. You would think I was legally emancipated at 13. They needed me to take on more responsibility. So legal emancipation was the way to get that effectuated. I could handle all the stuff. So when she left for Oklahoma City, I ended up being told I wasn't going to be able to graduate with my class. I withdrew. I was still working, but a large party broke out at my house one spring break weekend. A policeman who had been helping me out for many, many years behind the scenes warned me that some people were thinking I was narking on them and had said, hey, get rid of her. He left under the guise of him telling me somebody was after me. I was there by myself. So I really, up to that point, didn't understand what dangers, because of being unparented, that's when your parents usually step in and go, hey, that fire's too hot. Hey, you can't do that. Hey, who are you hanging around with? There wasn't anybody to tell me that. When I finally could see myself needing to do things, and I also have a neurodivergent son, I implemented every tool. I meditate. I have my hacks. I moved back to Amarillo in 2021. So I can't find the same vendors, if you will, like that I had, caregivers, but I had massages once a month. I had, if you can afford it and that's what you like, do it. If it's not and you like to read, find what you like. When I first got divorced, when I was in Sam's and looked down at the bottom of the rack, I went, oh my God, there's a crossword puzzle. And I used to love to do crossword puzzles. How could I forget? When you're a caregiver, or when you are suffering, the only thing you can think about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Eat, sleep, warm place, get your needs met. When you expand beyond that to find comfort, that's when you're going to really discover what it is that makes me happy. Because the happiness part's got to come inside. That's when I said about it's an attitude. I only get to do one crossword puzzle a day, but I am going to value that 10 minutes by myself. And that is really what I had to learn how to do, because I was taking care of my mother, my two small boys, that I was a single parent, and I was working 3 jobs and not getting child support. And that was right before she broke her hip and went to a nursing home. I still have people go, when did you sleep? I don't think I did. I think I just ran off adrenaline, which is why now, I'm like, I'm going to stay alive for another 10 years to see the grandkids. I grow up, it's much older to get healthy later on, and your body breaks down. You've got to remember that cortisol is running high. I don't have any left. Think about that from your mental health standpoint. They measured me at 17, and it's in my book. Guess what? There wasn't any then. I was on half tank, long-term cortisol at 17. So how much stress had I been under? And for how long then? Unbeknownst to my little body. I was fortunate that when I moved away, although it was another horrible 8 years with my ex-husband, when I finally was able to get out and find my own tribe, I found wonderful support. I found like-minded people who complemented my spot. A girl that watched my son when he was 8 weeks old, didn't have to work, but wanted to watch a baby. It was funny because my son looked just like her. Matt had the wonderful experience of having just her and him until he was 18 months old, and then she opened a nursery. I was blessed with a lot of this. When my dad asked if I would move home, I said, why would I do that? Y'all want to watch my kids. None of y'all are my support network. I got my car stolen out of a parking lot. I hadn't talked to a good friend in probably 2 years. I called her and said, hey, my car got stolen. The nebulizer was in there for Matthew. Do you have an extra? She and I used to carpool together. Our sons, we've been friends. We're still friends. She passed. She said, absolutely, I got an extra one. Come by and get it. When you are under stress, if you know when it's coming, build your support network. And I'm not talking about people that will enable you. I'm talking about find people that all of you can lift yourselves up together. We all did it. My whole group, we all did it. I can point out every single person.
Thank you so much for sharing that. For our audience, if you can give one piece of advice to anyone struggling today, what can you offer them, Shelly? And then we're going to get into where we could find that amazing book you just previewed.
Sure. I would say get into counseling. Talking to your friends is a great place to vent. But remember, they love you. They have a vested interest in you. Most people avoid change at all costs. Even people who want to change have a hard time. Get into counseling where the person you're talking to is on your, make sure you're okay.
Everyone talking with someone helps an immense amount, and wherever it may be in a professional setting or support system, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss great guests like today. Shelly,
Oh,
thank you so
thanks.
much for taking the time to join me here from Texas on a mental health break. Where can we find you and that awesome book?
Okay. Well, you can find me. I have a website. It's called the Perpetual Caregiver.com. I also am on Facebook and also Instagram, Perpetual Caregiver on Instagram and the Perpetual Caregiver on Facebook. My book, as I said, just dropped yesterday. It's an ebook form until Saturday, but you can pre-order it. It's Some Asses Just Need Wiping. lessons learned while being a lifelong caregiver of my mother. It's a dark comedy. It's the only way I've gotten through. So it's a dark comedy. It'll have a lot of Texas wit in there. And believe me, my mother and I, we were super close. We had to laugh about a lot of things. Sometimes I'd come home from school and say, "Hey, did you make it to the grocery store?" She'd say, "No, go talk to the roaches. They're still in there crying." I mean, like I said, you control what you can control. Child support check didn't come yet. But I'm saying that what you can't laugh about, you're going to cry about. So try to find more of the humor in your situation.
Be sure to connect with Shelly. She'll be a wonderful resource. Thank you for joining us on a mental health break. Thank you for keeping this a top 5% global podcast series. We look forward to continuing with mental health champions. See you next week on a mental health break. Thank you, Shelly. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I would love to hear your feedback. What did you love? What do you want to see more of? Are there any questions you would like me to ask the guests who come on the show? This show is not possible without you, the amazing listeners, so please email us at podcastsbylancy@gmail.com and let us know what you think. We'll also feature you on a later show. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with our amazing community of guests who will continue to come on the show, sprinkled in with solo episodes from me, Vincent A. Lancy. With that, I look forward to introducing more shows to you each and every week. And with that, we're signing off today. Enjoy the episodes and make it a great day ahead.